Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about the Walt Disney Mary Poppins Carousel game. This game was released in 1964. It runs for about 20 minutes of game time, seats anywhere from 2 to 4 players, and is rated for ages 5 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? In 1964, Walt Disney released the Mary Poppins film along with Parker Brothers' The Mary Poppins Carousel game. In this game, all is not quiet in London's Cherry Tree Lane in the year 1910. The Banks children, Jane and Michael, have just lost their nanny and are very unhappy. The next morning, the wind changes and a breeze comes in from the east. Swept in on the wind is Mary Poppins. She lands at the Banks' front door. When Mr. Banks opens the front door, he sees a young woman with a sweet face. He hires her for the children's nanny, and they are elated. Mary Poppins is gifted with the art of making people happy with her magic. She takes the children for their daily walk through the park, and they meet a street entertainer named Bert. He is drawing pictures on the sidewalk with chalk. Mary suggests that they visit all the places in the drawings. They all pass through the countryside, ride the merry-go-round, and the horses break loose from the carousel, giving them a nice ride through the country. They all have a wonderful time. Mary Poppins has brought great happiness to the Bankses and the people of Cherry Tree Lane. One day, the wind blows west. Mary Poppins opens up her umbrella, and she is carried away. As she sails away, she sees the Banks family and the people of Cherry Tree Lane flying kites and having a good time. In this game, the players take the parts of Mary, Bert, Jane, and Michael. The object of the game is to be the first player to get on the carousel. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with a game board, it comes with 1 die and 4 player pieces, and stands in the colors of green, brown, blue, and pink. To set up this game, each player selects a playing piece and places it on the starting space. Each player then throws a die, and the player with the highest number goes first, and then play continues clockwise. The first player throws a die and moves their piece from the starting position the number of spaces indicated. If their piece lands on a circle that tells them to advance further, they move their piece the additional spaces, and then their turn ends. The other players follow in the same manner. Players move their pieces in a forward direction unless they land on a space that tells them to move back. If a player's piece lands on a space occupied by another piece, they move their piece backwards to the first unoccupied space. A player must always move on their own horse track or kite track. Whenever a player's piece lands on a space that says go to carousel, they move their piece to the space in front of the carousel and their turn ends. A player does not have to reach the carousel space by exact count. When a player's piece reaches the space in front of the carousel and it is their turn to play, they spin the carousel, and if the color pointer on the indicator matches their color station, they then place their piece on the carousel and win the game. If the player does not match the color, they must try again on their next turn. Well, this has been an overview of the Walt Disney Mary Poppins Carousel game. Now, my first thoughts of looking at this game. The board looks really nice. The pieces look really nice. The board has that nice flying a kite section to it. It's got the tea party in here, so it has a very nice Mary Poppins theme to it, so it looks really, really nice. After that, my opinion drastically changes. The game itself is a very heavy roll, spin, and movement game, and that's it. It doesn't really have anything else going for it. You roll, you move, you roll, you move, you roll, you move. When you get to the end of the game, to the carousel, you have to wait and spin a spinner, so that way you can match your color to that of your piece. Now, my couple problems with this game. First off, it has several spaces in the beginning of the game that propel you forward, which is great, so that way you get a good leap forward. The downside is in the middle and the end of the game, you have spaces that knock you backwards when you land on them. When you hit one of these spaces, it knocks you back 4 or 5 spaces. So it gives your opponents an edge to jump forward. So if they skip these spaces, there is no way for you to catch back up. Now, if you do actually make it to the carousel space and you have to spin the spinner to get onto it, I have another problem, because this game doesn't have a screw or anything like that for the spinner. It uses a rivet. The problem with the rivet, it's really tight. So when you spin the spinner, it doesn't want to spin, it wants to take its time. So it's not really a good spinner. So you could spin it and never hit your color. That is a very good possibility. So construction-wise, this game was not well created. And it hasn't aged well because the rivets get a little rusty over time. And like I said, if it were a screw, it would be a different story. But the rivet, I want to say, doesn't really help this game. It's a very basic roll, spin, and movement game. If you want a game where you can play with your kids or someone that's really, really young and you want a family-oriented game, this would be a decent game for you, but I wouldn't expect much out of it. It's a good family event night, but as for a game night with friends, no, just don't. It is really not worth the time to pull it out of the box. There are way better games out there. There are more interesting Disney games out there. I would say this is not one of them. But if you really, really want to play this game, I would say go for it. You can play it for free online. I will have a link in the description below, which I do encourage you to play it online and not actually go and buy it. So play it online. You'll have a better time with it online because you don't have anything into it except for a few minutes, and you can move on to something else. So if you really want to play this game, I'd say go ahead, but when it comes down to it, my opinion on this is go find something else. So I am telling you, don't play this game. Go play something else that's way better. Well, that's it from us at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on the Mary Poppins Carousel game from Parker Brothers. If there's a game in the future you'd like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.